Hi everybody, welcome back to a video, and today I'm going to be discussing probably Doctor Who's best villain, the Master. Because if you thought the Doctor had a wide array of different incarnations, well obviously you've not seen any stories featuring the Master. Because, as you'll see, there's a wide range of people here. So let's get started with last place, Peter Pratt / Jeffrey Beavers, aka the Deep Fried Incarnation. I'm grouping these together because it's basically the same incarnation, just played by two separate people. Now, there are some sources that would argue that this is actually the Delgado incarnation. I'm going to argue with that opinion because, one, I just think it'd be really disrespectful to Roger Delgado if this is the same incarnation. So I'm just going to say this is a different one. And it's fine. It's a good interpretation. Features in one of my favorite stories to feature the Master, the Deadly Assassin, which is also a contender for my favorite Tom Baker story. So this incarnation does have that going for it, but it's just something I like watching the other iterations of the character better. This one's definitely more of a tactician willing to play the long game rather than some of the other ones. Some of the other ones, it's just like, yeah, let's do this. But some of them do play the long game. This is one of them. Let's move on to number 7. Derek Jacobi has an incredible performance in the 10th Doctor episode, Utopia. However, he's only the Master for about 5 minutes. I'm not factoring in extended media such as Big Finish into this. This is just looking at the TV shows, and you only really get about 5 minutes. I'm pretty sure if you looked it up, this guy's entire time as the Master is on YouTube. I mean, a really good performance, and I think if he got to be the Master for a full episode or two, you know what? Honestly, he could have a shot at being in the top 3, maybe. But it is just the fact you only get 5 minutes of him on screen. That's why he's second to last. So let's move on. Okay, so number 6 is Eric Roberts. A lot of people don't like this incarnation. I don't know why he's not last place on my list. It is just something about this performance. Because you go from, he's kind of serious, not taking any jokes seriously, to wearing a full Gallifreyan costume and saying, I always dress for the occasion. Well, what is this incarnation trying to do? And while I don't know the answer to that, the answer for this part is just, this is a fun incarnation to watch. And kind of is an interesting case because this is an incarnation who basically is going through post-regeneration at the same time as the Doctor, which makes it a very interesting comparison between the two. Because really, the only other time we've gotten a full-on post-regeneration story for the Master is Logopolis, when you think about it, because that's probably not long after the Keeper of Traken. So you get, because Sim had been hiding on Earth for a while, so this is really the first time we get to see a full-on post-regeneration story for the Master, because you could argue Logopolis is that, but you don't know how much time has passed for the Master in between the Keeper of Traken and Logopolis. Anyway, I'm not talking about Anley here, I'm talking about Roberts. But again, like these other guys, only has one appearance to his name, so can't really give him much higher placement. Still underrated, and I think if he was to return some, I think he could probably do a really good job with the role. So let's move on to the next one. I did not mean to have the 3 back-to-back-to-back incarnations of the Master back-to-back-to-back on my list. Because what we've done here, is we've gone backwards because it was Jacoby was after Roberts, and Roberts was after Anthony Ainley, who's at number 5. I did not mean to do that. I just realized that I did that. That's kind of funny. Anyway, Anthony Ainley is the incarnation of the Master who has fought the most amount of Doctors, fighting a version of the first, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, and the seventh on TV. He is the only iteration of the Master who can say he has fought 7 different Doctors. He was obviously the biggest threat during 5's era, and actually almost caused 5 to not regenerate in the Caves of Androzani, because he does make a cameo in that story. And of course he does appear at the end of the trial of the Time Lord, and he's obviously the final foe the Doctor faces in the show's original run with Survival. So there's definitely a lot going for him. He's the only Master to have faced 7 Doctors. He's the last villain of the original run of the show. So, I mean, ultimately, I just prefer the performances of the top 4 a little bit more. That's it. Anley is a great Master, but I just prefer the top 4. Okay, number 4, Michelle Gomez. Okay, this one has had a lot of appearances, appearing in a decent amount of Season 10, Season 8, during multiple cameo roles before taking on the role of villain in the finale, and Season 9's premiere. Definitely an interesting one. This is the first iteration of the Master to get a full-on character arc. The idea of giving the Master a redemption story is one of the cheesiest sounding ideas in Doctor Who history, but I think Gomez makes that work because it is a parallel to 12. 12 begins his tenure asking the question of, am I a good man? He does not know who he is. Missy, on the other hand, knows entirely who she is. But then those roles kind of get reversed, and Missy is kind of doubting what she can do with her own existence, whereas 12 knows what he wants to do with his existence. Also, just some of the most psycho moments of the character's history are in this iteration. It is so weird that that Missy and the Sim iteration of the character just straight up kill themselves and then laugh about it. But I mean, you get 2 different iterations of the Master together, something like that's going to happen. But ultimately, Gomez is also one of the few iterations we actually get to see the main end of. Some people will believe that Missy is the final iteration of the Master, and some people believe that Sasha Danan is Missy's successor. I think it's generally determined that Danan comes after Missy. But anyway, let's move on to the top 3. So number 3 is John Sim. So Derek Jacobi was the first iteration of the Master I had ever watched, but like I said, 5 minutes. But for full iterations of the character, Sim was the first one I saw, and for a while. Now, when I had seen the revival, I was saying this was an awesome interpretation of the character. Ultimately, he is a great interpretation. But then I saw the top 2 performances, and I was thinking, yeah, Sim ain't number 1 anymore. But he is really good. He's a great mirror opposite to 10, and works surprisingly well against 12. Honestly, this could have been an interesting one to see go up against 11, honestly. So yeah, the only one to return for a multi-master story as well, which honestly was kind of funny, and the dynamic between Sim and Missy is definitely an interesting thing to watch. So yeah, I really don't have a lot to say about Sim. Just pretty good introduction to the character, a fun mirror opposite to 10, and just, yeah, third place. Alright, so the runner-up is Sasha Danan. In my opinion, this iteration of the Master is the best part about the entirety of the 13th Doctor's era. That is including the Doctor. I don't think that's a great sign when the Master is the best part of your era, or maybe it is. In my opinion, Chris Chibnall did one thing good, and that was writing iconic villains, particularly the Master, delivering an iteration that you can understand why he is so upset, but also full-on psycho at points. This is a great example of not really getting a lot of screen time, but making a big impact. Because really, Sasha Danan plays the Master for that ending of Spyfall Episode 1, all of Episode 2, shows up at the end of Ascension of the Cybermen, shows up for the entirety of the Timeless Children, and is the main antagonist for the power of the Doctor. That is not a lot of screen time when you think about it. But this iteration is just so fun to watch. And I was really debating. For any of my lists, the top two, honestly, I was considering calling this one a tie between Dwan and, well, if you've been paying attention, you know who number one is. I was honestly considering calling it a tie because both of these performances have aspects that I really like about both of them. But ultimately, it's the fact that I wish there was a little more screen time for Dwan's iteration of the character. That's why he's not number one. But like I said, it's extremely close and the best part of the Whittaker era. So, yeah, I mean, I hate to be stereotypical, but for my number one pick, I mean, was there really anyone else it could be apart from Roger Delgado? I mean, come on. This guy has to be number one. Is it a cliche? Yes. Is it stereotypical? Absolutely. Does he deserve it? Yes. The Master was originally conceived as the Moriarty to the third Doctor, Sherlock Holmes. And I think out of any pairing of the Master and the Doctor, this is the definite pairing. This is the best one. Apparently, Pertwee and Delgado were great friends in real life, and that shows with this performance. Because this is the iteration that you can buy. Used to be friends with the Doctor the most. Also, it does not hurt that he is the villain of every story of one of my favorite seasons of the show, the Classic Era Season 8. And the unfortunate thing is that his final appearance is maybe his weakest one. Planet of the Daleks was a good story. Not Planet of the Daleks. Frontier in Space was pretty good. Delgado is the best part of it, but he deserved better for... Now, I get that they didn't know that was going to be his last one due to his unfortunate passing in a car accident. But, I mean, looking back at it, it is not a great send-off for that iteration of the character. But, I mean, this is the iteration of the character. I mean, this is the only one to exit his TARDIS and say, I'm usually referred to as the Master. Universally so. Really can't argue with that. So Delgado gets the top spot on my list. So there you have it. Who is your favorite iteration of the Master? And yeah, that is going to be it for this video. Like and subscribe. I will see you in the next one. Bye.